our 32nd and final matchup of the first round. I believe we've saved the best for last. Les Miserables taking on Sunday in the Park with George. Les Miserables, also known as Les Mis, is a sung-through musical with music by Claude Michel Schoenberg, lyrics by Alain Bobile and Jean-Marc Natel, and a book by Schoenberg and Bobile. Based on the 1862 novel of the same name by Victor Hugo, set in early 19th century France, Les Mis tells the story of Jean Valjean, a French peasant, and his desire for redemption. After stealing a loaf of bread for his sister's starving child, Valjean is imprisoned for 19 years and released in 1815. When a bishop inspires him with a tremendous act of mercy, Valjean breaks his parole and starts his life anew in disguise. He becomes wealthy and adopts an orphan, Cosette. A police inspector named Javert pursues Valjean over the decades in a single-minded quest for justice. The characters are swept into a revolutionary period in France, where a group of young idealists attempt to overthrow the government at a street barricade in Paris. The musical premiered on Broadway on March 12, 1987 at the Broadway Theater. The show was nominated for 12 Tony Awards, winning 8, including Best Musical and Best Original Score. The musical ran through October 10, 1990, when it moved to the Imperial Theater. It was scheduled to close on March 15, 2003, but the closing was postponed by a surge in public interest. Now let's pause here for a second. Right? So they announced they're going to close the musical. And people say, no, you can't. We're going to keep coming to it. And so people continued to keep the show going. After 6,680 performances in 16 years, it closed on May 18th, 2003. So it was staved off by 2 months. But it was the second longest running musical after Cats. It was surpassed by The Phantom of the Opera in 2006. Only 3 years after the original run closed, Les Mis began a return to Broadway on November 9th, 2006 at the Broadhurst Theater for a limited run that was subsequently made open-ended. The revival closed on January 6, 2008 after 463 performances. And then in 2013, a production that was done in Toronto moved to Broadway in March of 2014, and it opened on March 23, 2014. That revival was nominated for 3 Tony Awards: Best Revival of a Musical, Best Leading Actor in a Musical, and Best Sound Design. And then we get to Sunday in the Park with George. Sunday in the Park with George, our final play and winner, is a 1984 musical with music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim and book by James Lapine. It was inspired by the French pointillist painter Georges Seurat's painting A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of Le Grand Jatte. I did my best. I'm not French. The plot revolves around George, a fictional version of Seurat, who immerses himself deeply in painting his masterpiece, and his great-grandson, also named George, a conflicted and cynical contemporary artist. The Broadway production opened in 1984. The musical won the 1985 Pulitzer Prize for Drama, 2 Tony Awards for Design, a nomination for Best Musical, and numerous Drama Desk Awards. It also had revivals in 2008 and 2017 on Broadway. So, if you want to vote for Les Mis, comment with Les Mis. If you want to vote for Sunday in the Park with George, comment with Sunday in the Park with George.